All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for showing up this morning. To officially welcome back Kelly Krauskopf as President of Basketball Business Operations for the Indiana.
Everyone is celebrating the massive NBC announcement that puts Caitlin Clark on a global stage. But what if that deal was the final trigger for a major warning sent directly from her own team's president? What if the brightest spotlight in sports history is actually casting the darkest shadow, revealing a threat that has nothing to do with what happens on the court? The truth is far more complex than a simple game of basketball. It's a story of power, money, and a warning that suggests Caitlin Clark's biggest challenge isn't winning games, but simply surviving the chaos her own stardom has created. The recent NBC deal troll, a catalyst for a confrontation that has been brewing since the moment she was drafted. The announcement of the new docuseries, Full Court Press, sent shockwaves through the sports world, not just for its existence, but for its sheer scale. This wasn't just another special segment on a sports channel. This was NBC, a titan of global media, dedicating a primetime series to a rookie's journey. This move elevates Clark from a sports figure to a mainstream entertainment spectacle, placing her on the same level as subjects of massively successful docuseries like The Last Dance or Drive to Survive. The show, which also features Camila Cardoso and Kiki Rice, effectively turns Clark's entire rookie season into a real-time Hollywood drama, where every practice, every millions of viewers. For the WNBA, it was a dream come true on paper, promising a fire hose of new fans, merchandise sales, and unprecedented revenue. But behind the scenes, a difference was happening. The public celebration was overshadowed by a deep-seated concern, a stark recognition that this level of exposure was a double-edged sword of the most dangerous kind. And that blade was pointed directly at their 22-year-old star. While the world saw dollar signs and record-breaking ratings, the Indiana Fever front office saw a dangerous escalation of pressure that could break even the most resilient athlete. The series guarantees that her every move, both triumphs and failures, will be magnified, dissected, and monetized, stripping away any semblance of a private life. But that wasn't the only storm brewing, because the attention from the cameras was only one part of the problem. While the media empire celebrated its new golden goose, the one person was already preparing for the inevitable fallout. Indiana Fever's president, Alyssa Pacer, began making public statements that, on the surface, sounded like typical corporate support and prudent management. She spoke about managing the Caitlin Clark effect and the organization's dedicated role in helping her navigate the unprecedented, almost suffocating attention. But reading between the lines, her message was far more urgent and far more pointed. It was a veiled warning, not just to the public, but to forces within the league itself. She was talking about handling a few extra media requests. She was telegraphing a strategy to protect a human being from being consumed by the global machine she was now the face of. Her words hinted at a deliberate plan to build a fortress around Clark, and to shield her from the crushing weight of expectation that came with the NBC deal and the messianic savior narrative being pushed on her by the media and the league. This wasn't a celebration of fame, it was a strategic public admission of the immense danger it presented. The organization knew that with this level of fame, with this much money on the line, enemies would begin to surface not just in the press or in rival boardrooms, but in the one place Clark should have felt safest, the basketball court. And soon, that warning became a brutal, physical reality. The coded warning from the front office soon materialized into a brutal, undeniable reality on the hardwood. The pressure was no longer just a concept, it was a physical force. It became clear very quickly that this wasn't just about playing tough defense against a talented rookie. It was personal, and it was ugly. The most glaring and infamous example came during the game against the Chicago Sky. In a moment that went viral and ignited a furious national debate, Kennedy Carter delivered a vicious off-ball hip check that sent Clark flying to the floor. It wasn't a basketball play, it was a blatant message, a cheap shot delivered away from the action. The initial reaction from the officials was perhaps even more damning than the foul itself. They missed it, treating it as incidental contact. The lack of an immediate upgraded call sent a chilling signal across the league. Caitlin Clark was on her own, and the referees were not going to protect her. This wasn't an isolated incident. In game after game, Clark has been met with a level of physicality that goes far beyond typical rookie treatment. She's been knocked down, pushed, taunted, and aggressively screened in ways that feel more like a targeted campaign of intimidation than a simple welcome to the league. From DeJoni Carrington's taunts to the relentless bodying from opponents, the on-court war was the physical manifestation of the very thing Alyssa Pacer seemed to be warning about. The pressure wasn't just mental anymore. It was becoming a direct physical threat, a danger to her health and career. And the people in charge, the very league that was profiting from her presence, seemed to be looking the other way, content to let the drama unfold for clicks and views. And what happened next would prove this went far deeper than just a few rogue players with a grudge. And the shocking physical aggression on the court wasn't random, and it wasn't just a few players losing their cool. It was a symptom of a much larger, more toxic issue brewing behind the scenes. A league seemingly divided by Caitlin Clark's very presence. The whispers of veteran resentment quickly turned into a deafening roar across sports media. Pundits, analysts, and former players began speaking out, suggesting that many WNBA veterans felt deeply disrespected by the tidal wave of attention, endorsements, and media adoration being heaped upon a single rookie. They felt that their years of hard work, of playing in relative obscurity to build the league from the ground up, were being completely ignored in favor of the new, shiny object who brought in casual fans unfamiliar with the league's history. Some tried to dismiss it as standard rookie hazing, a rite of passage. But the sheer vitriol, the public comments, and the on-court actions felt different, more personal. The narrative that Clark was being targeted by jealous veterans took hold, painting a picture of a locker room culture that was more hostile and exclusionary than welcoming. Legendary player Diana Taurasi's pre-draft comment that reality is coming for Clark was seen as a prophecy, a declaration of intent from the old guard. This internal conflict added a treacherous new layer to Clark's situation. She wasn't just fighting opponents on the court anymore. She was navigating a complex, emotionally charged political landscape within her own league. A league that seemed profoundly unsure whether to celebrate her as its savior or punish her as an unwelcome intruder. If the on-court aggression and the locker room whispers were a quiet warning about her place in the league, the decision that came down from Team USA was a public execution of her perceived power. The announcement that Caitlin Clark was left off the 12-person roster for the Paris Olympics sent absolute shockwaves through the entire sports world. It was, by all accounts, a stunning and almost inexplicable decision. Here was the single most popular and influential basketball player on the planet, male or female, a person who was single-handedly driving ratings and interest in her sport to historic, unprecedented heights, and she was officially told she wasn't good enough for the team. The official reasoning cited her lack of experience with the senior national team camps and the desire for established chemistry. But very few people, from hardcore fans to casual observers, bought that explanation. Rumors immediately began to swirl, painting a much more political picture. Some insiders claimed that veteran players on the team were deeply concerned about how Clark's massive and sometimes volatile fan base would react if she had limited playing time, creating a media circus that would distract from their goal of winning a gold medal. Others painted it as a pure, unadulterated power play, a definitive message from the gatekeepers of women's basketball that her media hype, her record-breaking viewership, and her legion of fans meant absolutely nothing to them. They were in control of